So I am videotaping the lower section. We are located about 300 yards north or upstream from the current gate on the airstrip. I am looking downstream. This gap in the trees here with that large rock is Roger's estimate of where our current property line is. And as we look upstream, approximately 100 yards, you'll see those two rocks, one on the left and one in the center. And that is the location that Roger is proposing for building a retaining structure or dam structure across there to build a pool behind that and a plunge pool down below that. So if we do what you're suggesting, Roger, and go with a dam across that part of the river.
Yeah, so technically it's called a rock pool digger.
A rock pool digger, and that would be toward the top of the airstrip. Cost ballpark would be $7,000, $7,500 of stone.
What's that?
I mean, the total cost you think would be around $7,500,
yeah.
And that you could have a spot there where members could drive onto the airstrip, park, and you could build stairs all the way down to that pool.
Wooden steps, you know.
Wooden steps. So this is looking downstream from the ford, and the suggestion is that we would not do any improvements to either of these, to any of this section of the stream, except for that one large rock, the second one from the right there that you'll see that Roger would move back into place where it originally was located to improve the deflection here in this very, very fishable pool right below the field.
Reinforce it. Well, here's the deal with this.
We're on the first deflector below the dam.
The first deflector here, the water running through it here, you're not going to change that unless you build it out of concrete. It's always going to leak.
You don't feel you need to seal this off so there's no water here? So you're saying this is okay as is?
In my opinion, this deflector is doing a fantastic job. Look at the gravel bar buildup you got down there. And vegetation. It was awful.
So this is the view of the first deflector down below the dam, which is pushing the water across to the far bank underneath the shade of the hemlock trees, where it's going to improve water temperature and water flow. We're talking with Roger here again on the first deflector below the dam about potentially putting one or more large rocks in the center of the stream. One maybe right at the top of this first deflector, and one about 2/3 of the way down, in order to improve the fishability of the water in the vicinity of this first deflector area. And third deflectors to do what?
Well, just to keep them doing what they're doing, and if they're working fine, which it looks to me like they are, from what I can see here, I wouldn't do anything with that second one because it's doing its job. You've got water here where little fish could get in on the right-hand side, and that is a safe haven for them, according to the biologist that I studied under there.
See these little fish?
And what about the third deflector? Is that the one down where that
third
large
deflector looks to me like it's doing a job too? There's a buildup below it.
It's in about as good a shape as the other, but it may be in the best shape of the three.
I would leave them be, because what it's doing is keeping the water concentrated over there in the shade and keeping the thing narrowed up.
Yes, which is why we put them in the first place.
Okay. So Roger, do you have any specific thoughts on what we might do with some of these rocks here at the lower dam?
We'll try to reassemble this back again. It really hasn't had anything done to it in 30 years.
Yeah, it definitely appears as though the main course of the river has moved closer to the roadway here. What would be involved in doing that?
I've just got to bring the machine in.
Do you have enough rock here to do the work that's necessary?
We should have a couple more. I'll bring in a couple of rocks. But see, now here's the deal with this. This one here, we probably should find some rocks somewhere that are native. I bring the quarry rocks in here, it's not going to work good.
Right.
We're not going to mix with this. $2,500 maybe to bring in a couple of rocks.
And do you think that
It
we
takes two machines to do that,
Sure.
see, and time you move them in, but if they're already here, you know, you get a lot more bang for the buck.
Okay.
I may be able to find a couple of good ones somewhere up there in the back, and we can bring them on up behind the on the far side of the road coming in 206.
Do you think it would be possible to get the kind of backup in this pool that you have at the Clear Lake, or does that require more of those squared off quarry rocks in order to get that effect?
Well, should be able to get back up to the other side of that big habitat rock that I put in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here at Bogart's Run, and we were just defining the parameters of Bogart's, which really run from the top end of the dam pool, right about where you see that tree coming across, and going approximately 150 yards, really up to the upper end of the slide on the far shore. And one of the suggestions that Roger had was to put some kind of either deflection or dam across the middle of Bogart's here that could significantly improve the depth of the stream. Okay.
Beauty and activity and ease of access.
Here we are at the top of Bogart's, and if you look at the large rock at the very top end of Bogart's and the tree trunks that are down across the way there, I've just waded that section of water, and it is the deepest here in mid-July. It's almost waist deep, right over by those tree trunks, and that is appreciably the deepest part of the pool. And then probably the remainder of the pool is anywhere from knee height to mid-thigh. So we're here at the home pool, and Roger is suggesting potentially putting one or two rocks on the far side where that flow is. I've just walked these various plunge pools here, and the deepest one is the one you see there in the center, which again in mid-July was almost sort of chest high at its deepest point. Okay, now at the upper end, looking at the lower end of Willow Pool. Large rock there at the base of Willow Pool. Coming down, and this nice little run in here with these two large rocks has some very promising fishy water that goes all the way down about 50 yards or so. But some nice rock structure there, and a very nice little run along in here, even in this mid-July lower water. Here's a look up Willow Pool. You see the two rocks that Roger has put in. I just waded that entire section of stream from rock to rock, and the water depth there is up to my waist. It's a very good, productive habitat. I saw probably a half a dozen trout, 14 inches and bigger, all throughout that pool.